And if they expect me to walk away from Luton with nothing, I'll make very sure there's nothing to walk away from.
Hello and welcome to the Oak Road Hatter podcast. I'm Billy Mully, joined today by Finley Cannon and Jamie Castle following Luton's season ender, the 4-2 defeat to Fulham. Jamie, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Do you think just survived sunburn yesterday? Sat in the beer garden before the game. Face was slightly red, but thankfully it's not too sore this morning. And yeah, as you can probably see, my head is it's turned towards other events now. My Luton hat is off, and my England one is firmly on. Looking ahead to sort of hopefully seven big games in Germany this summer. But no, last of all, let's just digest the crazy 4-2 game it was yesterday.
It was sort of a festival atmosphere yesterday, Finn. But how are you, firstly?
Yeah, I'm good. I felt like weight off my shoulders, if anything. So I feel pretty relaxed, more than I have at any point this season, I think.
Just a quick announcement before we get going today. This is going to be one of my last podcasts hosting the Oak Road Hatter podcast. I was going to say penultimate, but I think we've got a couple more before I say season ends, but before we end for the summer break and we move on to next season. But a massive thank you to everybody that's watched, listened, interacted with us on Twitter, that's helped us out with websites, everybody that's been a part of the journey, anybody that's just done anything to help Oak Road Hatter grow and grow. It's been a massive journey, a big part of my life for the last sort of 4-5 years. I was trying to put a time frame on it, but I can't quite remember when we actually started, but it has been a while. Loved every sort of minute of it, made some really good mates from it, and yeah, we've got some very good memories. I think, what were we? Championship, bottom end of the championship when we started. We got a Premier League season out of it. So yeah, what a time to start creating content around Luton Town. I'm still going to help out with little bits sort of behind the scenes, but it's going to be a little bit of change come the summer. Jamie will, I'm sure, go through all that when the time comes to it. But right now, we've got a couple more to go, or maybe 2-3 more to go before I give up hosting duties. But thank you very much to everybody that's helped out, that's liked, that's subscribed. As I said before, anyone that's done anything to help us, it means a lot. Okay, let's get into the game itself, because it's weird considering how much has been on the line in this Premier League campaign that we go into a game where the score, I guess, mattered to a certain extent, but didn't really in the grand scheme of things. It was a party atmosphere, everybody in their orange. But the game itself, I think Edwards summed it up perfectly. It was a game that defined how our season sort of panned out. An injury early on, conceding straight after we score, little bits of quality hidden in there, but also fragility. But yeah, Jamie, it was a game that basically encapsulated everything we've seen throughout sort of this year.
Yeah, both on and off the pitch, really. I think first we were off the pitch. Yeah, I mean, party atmosphere. It was nice to go out with a beautiful day of weather and seeing the Kenny have a sea of orange, and that is why I'll always be Team Orange rather than Team White. I know that's a bit controversial amongst some ranks, but no, I do love Luton playing in orange, and the fans off the pitch were great, and getting behind the lads no matter what the whole game. So off the pitch, yeah, encapsulated our season, and then on it, yeah, it's lots of desire. I think quality in spells, but not quality sort of for large chunks. I think probably final ball was lacking a lot of the time, and yeah, I think Fulham probably deserved it on sort of like on review. Yeah, I think the XG was in our favour, but I just think Fulham looked very tidy on the ball and just had that bit of quality that we didn't. Can't fault the work rate. It's just a character to go back or to go behind 1-0, get back to 1-1, and then throw it away again pretty quickly. We'd love to know how many times we've conceded within 2 minutes of scoring this season. There's certainly two or three I can think of myself. But all in all, just yeah, a game that didn't really matter. I think it helped to see Forest go up inside 2 minutes because you sort of think, well, that's got absolutely zero chance of becoming a miracle today. Not that it was likely anyway. But you could just focus on the game and the party atmosphere, and it was nice to go out this to sort of end the season with at least some entertainment to be to have some fun memories on this season.
And Finn, we've scored a lot of goals this season. We've also conceded a lot, so it was quite fitting that it was a 4-2, a 6-goal thriller to play out the season. Means we only kept 2 clean sheets, I think it is. But also we've proven to be great entertainers, and it was quite fitting that we went out on that 6-goal thriller.
Yeah, I think it does really encapsulate our season. Really, we're free scoring at times and almost make it look easy to open some teams up, but then cannot defend for love nor money. And losing Mengi, he's been one of the only players who hasn't gone off injured much this season or at many stages this season, considering the vast majority of his career before joining Luton was basically plagued by injuries. So losing him did make a big difference. But I thought Fulham were very good. They completely controlled the game from, I think, the first 5-10 minutes. We barely got a touch on the ball, and you could see how well organised they were, particularly in that midfield of Palinha and Reed as well. I thought those two really controlled the game. So yeah, we obviously conceded some very good goals as well. Scored a decent goal, and then got another penalty. So that took obviously Morris up to 11 goals this season, which I'm sure Kieran will be very pleased about. Um, but no, it was an entertaining game, even though we lost, and I think that's because the pressure was off. You could just enjoy the football, and sort of the atmosphere itself was a fun atmosphere, and I think one of the highlights of the game might have been the touch from the linesman.
Yeah, I didn't see a better touch all game on the pitch. It was quite incredible. And just for context, Kieran, as you all know and love, he said at the start of the season, it was this, weren't it, Jamie, where he said that Morris wouldn't score 10 plus goals. So
Yeah.
once he'd done it, that meant he had to go and ride a roller coaster, which with even more context, he is petrified of them. So that is brilliant. Plus, he got another one, so he has to do 2. So yeah, I'm
Yeah, so
looking.
it was basically 9 or less, he wins 10 or more. Both for every goal more than 9, he has to go on a roller coaster. So looking forward to that Fort Park trip in the summer, mate.
Brilliant. And yeah, it was as you've both sort of described. I think Fulham, I'll give them their credit. I think they looked probably the best way to sum it up, a very established now Premier League club. Um, it's they're a team that I forget are only 2 years into the Premier League, because I think they feel they've got the feel of being established for quite a long time, and even before that. a couple of years ago and up and down the divisions. But yeah, they looked very tidy in and out of possession. That Paulinho, you can understand why there's so many glancing eyes over him from some of the best clubs in the world. Harry Wilson loves a goal against us. Harrison Reed, he loves a yellow card. He's a player that I think there's a conspiracy behind, that always gets a yellow card. I don't know. It just always seems when you talk about Harrison Reed, he's just got a yellow card for something. It's one of those, but I'm sure, I'm sure he hasn't, and I'll probably get told he's only got one all season or something like that. Let's go on to a couple of individuals, because Ted Mengi, coming off early, gave another opportunity to star boy Joe Johnson, 18 years of age. Got some very good experiences this season, but again, party atmosphere, Kenilworth Road with 70 minutes of Premier League action. It's great to see young players in the first team environment at Luton. And I think he came on and done another solid job, Jamie.
Yeah, I thought he was very composed and relaxed, really. I mean, I think Edward summed it up in one of his comments post-match. To come on in a game like that is one thing, but to come on early and not really be prepared, right? I think players, if you're on the bench, you always think the first half is not really much point warming up, because you're not going to come on. You might come on between that 55 to sort of 80 mark is your most likely. But yeah, in the first half, you're not going to come on. So to come on without being fully prepared, because again, mentally, you're probably not prepared to come on at that point in time, and play against a very good Fulham team. I think from a team perspective, we have missed Amari Bell a lot. I think we've missed that balance at the back, especially not just being a left footer, but just that general balance in the way he can bring it out. And I think Osho can bring the ball out, but clearly him being on the weaker side limits him quite a bit. So I think we've missed Bell more than we all can really sort of explain this season. So to have Joe Johnson come in and be composed defensively, I think, I mean, not to be critical about another player too much, but if you compare him to the other side with Hashioka, and you look at what one guy is a teenager and has only made a handful of senior appearances, and the other one, okay, albeit is still early on in his career, especially in England in the Premier League, but has still made some decent number of senior appearances in Belgium. You'd be forgiven for thinking that Joe Johnson was the more experienced head in that back three compared to Hashioka. So I think that's just a really good compliment to him, and yeah, his potential is really good. I think for me going forward, he's probably more of a left wing back rather than a left centre half, but just to show that versatility, and in a season, who knows what's going to happen, right? If we have another injury crisis next year in the Championship, just to know that we have someone like a Joe Johnson that can fit in and just do a job is really great. So for me, it's one of the big positives about going down to a lower level, is it hopefully gives a chance to someone like a Joe Johnson to really get some decent minutes. Okay, I'm not going to say he's going to play 46 games next year, but if he can reach double figures or more, and potentially even sort of 20 plus off the bench, who knows, then that'd be a really great season for him.
And it was also great to see him with a big smile on his face leaving the pitch with fans singing his name. You expect that we'll be singing that for years to come. I think also with Joe Johnson as well, we've got to mention he's just been called up again to England under 18s, which I know he's been called up to the England squad before, but to continue being selected is a huge honour and a credit to him for how he has sort of conducted himself being around the first team environment, how he's conducted himself with England as well to justify another call up. So big well done to Joe Johnson, and I think I speak for us all when I say we're excited to see how he develops. As we said, Hashioka, I think he's in desperate need of this summer. he didn't have much of a transitional period at all. Thrown into a couple of games probably a little bit too early. I think Man City the first one or the second one, but he was definitely thrown in far too early from what he's developed from a developmental standpoint at least. He's in need of a massive summer. There's a lot of positives I think with Hashioka, with the way he applies pressure and the way he goes one-on-one, but I think there has been a fair few frailties in his performances, and of course, that's going to happen when you play Premier League football. Stuff like that can be exposed on the highest level. Let's go on to another, and that is James Shea. James Shea coming on. Been with us since League Two. He was about to go the full season without any Premier League minutes, but he came on for the last sort of 15, 20. Him coming on meant that Thomas Kaminski didn't play the entire Premier League campaign, but I think as Rob alluded to, the goalkeeping union are so together at the club that's probably something that didn't even cross Kaminski's mind, and he was just very, very happy for his goalkeeping counterpart. But he came on. It wasn't just a token gesture, because he was called into action and made one very good save, and he came out to deal with danger quite well. Distribution was also quite well. You wouldn't have known that he'd never played Premier League football before, and I think that's probably the compliment we can give him. I love James Shea as a footballer, as a man. He comes across so well in interviews, and he's genuinely buzzing to be a part of our club and be a part of our journey. And hearing interviews like his one after yesterday are quite refreshing to hear. What do you make of his performance, Finn?
Well, I mean, he didn't put a foot wrong when he came on, actually. He made any save that he needed to make. His distribution was absolutely really good. He was finding Morris up there consistently, which at times we've struggled to do. We've struggled to get the ball forward, but he was doing it really well. I mean, even before he came on, you could see, as soon as he came to warm up in the first half, and he came running down towards the end where we were sat, and the whole stadium just stood up and cheered. And it was, I don't know, something about it was so uplifting, I think. And it really just created such a nice feeling. And then when it obviously did come on, the applause and the cheer he got was absolutely, I think it was louder than the goal celebrations at the game on Sunday. And I think that says a lot about how Luton fans feel about him, and how they feel about sort of these sentimental acts that some people might call it. But I mean, you can call it sentimental, but you need sentiment in sport sometimes. But he's deserved it, and he deserved to get an appearance. Obviously, Tim Krul has played in the Cup this season, and he's got plenty of Premier League games under his belt. So for someone like James Shea, who's really, really worked his way up through the leagues, obviously he said in his interview he was playing in non-league not that long ago. And then he's been number 2 for most of his time at Luton. He's been unlucky with the other goalkeepers that we've had. But he did finally get the opportunity. And whether he's here next season or not, he can say that in his career he's played a Premier League game. So I think it's just brilliant.
What a save, by the way. Who was that from? Was that Tom Kearney, I think, from about 25, 30 yards? And okay, you did see it most of the way, but if that was Thomas Kaminski, you'd have had chance of Thomas Kaminski ringing round the Kenny. So for that to be James Shea, just buzzing for him. And I think he summed up well in terms of the interview. He's almost sort of so relatable as a fan, because if that was me, I'd be exactly like he is in the interview, just absolutely buzzing to play for the club and play at that level is incredible. And he obviously disclosed in the interview that he's out of contract in the summer, but really hope that we offer him a new one. Okay, he's not going to be a starter for us, but just to keep him around the setup, for me, he's above Tim Krul. Like he's second choice, not third choice. Yeah, okay, we might sign a younger one to be second choice in the summer and have Shea and have Shea as the third. But I would absolutely keep him about. In modern times now, most clubs have 3 keepers, and he would absolutely form one of those 3. Just have that GK union. he's obviously he's not a Luton boy or sort of Luton Academy, but he seems Luton through and through, and I think that's the sort of player that we need to keep around.
Yeah, and I genuinely think he's earned that opportunity. I think he's never really put a foot wrong throughout his Luton career. As a shot stopper, he's always been very good. His distribution, I think, has been fairly okay. And I do think he is of championship level as well, which might be somewhat of a stretch to some, but I think he has proven himself during his time at Luton that he is good enough. Obviously, a very good cameo against Premier League opposition, and confidence will be sky high. But whatever happens to James Shea, um, thank you again, because he's been a fantastic servant to the club. We're going to head into a short break, but when we're back, we'll go through a few more player situations following yesterday's 4-2 defeat to Fulham. We are back for part 2 of today's episode, and let's kick the second half off with Pelly Ruddock and Panzu chat. He came on, for large parts of that second half, he made forward runs in behind the defence. He was intent and really, really willing to try and get that Premier League goal. It wasn't for the lack of trying. He did really go for it. But unfortunately, he didn't get that elusive Premier League goal. Pelly, we speak a lot about Pelly. Of course we do. He's a player that's been a massive talking point throughout probably all the seasons we've done this podcast. A massive influence in the changing room, but also somebody that's made this phenomenal rise with the club to the top flight. I don't really want to start talking about his future because you just don't know anything at this point. You just don't know any intentions. I don't think we can even guess at the contract situation. I don't think. But yeah, coming on yesterday, Finn, Pelly really wanted that goal, and there was calls with the first half penalty for him to come on. There were calls for him to take that free kick in the second half. It would have been nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been, and it also would have been a moment of history as well. So obviously he's the first player to play in all of the 5 divisions from non-league to the Premier League with the same club. But if he'd scored, it just would have been unprecedented, and I think that would have sparked maybe the most wild celebrations we've seen all season. But yeah, as soon as we got that penalty, and you could see him on the bench, like he started putting his shirt on, and everyone started picking up on it, and you had the whole crowd saying his name, chanting his name, and the Fulham players must have been so confused. I was sat there thinking, God, they must not have a clue what is going on here. Like, I thought that for a lot of the game, to be honest. They must have thought it was so weird. But no, I don't know if he would have scored it or not. You like to think he's a very confident player, so maybe he would have scored it, maybe he would have hit it over. I don't know. But obviously, Morris had to take it at that stage to make it 1-1. And then once that was gone, I think second half it was sort of everyone pushing for him to get one, and you had the whole crowd behind him, and he was making some brilliant runs as well. Probably some of the best runs he's made in a number of years, actually, because he played more deep in a deeper role for a long time. So he had that freedom just anywhere he wanted, and you could see players looking for him as well a lot of the game. And I thought he played really well. But no, I think it was just a bridge too far for him. But it was great to see him come on and really get an ovation that he deserved, I think.
I think for me it was funny when he came on and basically the whole ground was singing "If Pelly scores, we won the pitch," and then I turned to one of the head stewards who sort of stands just down by the sort of the Kenny where the clock used to be, and even he was sort of laughing, thinking, yeah, that if Pelly scores, I'm not stopping you. Like just go on the pitch, and then yeah, I mean I wouldn't have brought him on for the penalty because I think he would have missed it. I don't back him from the spot, but we all know what Pelly can do, and that score bangers. And where he was stood for that Cordy Woodrow free kick is, I like to call prime Pelly territory. So all it took, Cordy Woodrow, was a bit of a ball roll into the path, and I back him to score that. And then last 5 minutes was as if he'd taken some lessons from Luke Berry in terms of those sort of forward runs from midfield. It was just, yeah, gutted for him that he couldn't get that goal. But what a story. I don't think the story's finished yet. I personally think he'll stick around. For me, he was in that championship side, getting some good minutes alongside Marv. So yeah, for me, I think he's a championship midfielder as well, and he should be in the squad whether he starts or not. I think maybe we have the ambition to not replace Pelly, but strengthen. Clearly, we're going to lose one of, if not both, Barkley and Lokonga. So we definitely need some midfielders there. So yeah, I don't think he starts next year, but I would absolutely keep him around in the squad.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because to a certain extent, does he feel that the journey's over? He's become that first player to go from the conference to the Premier League. Is he now looking at other opportunities? You know, that there could be potential for championship clubs to view him as a starter, whether we do or not, you know, probably not at this stage. So yeah, from his perspective, there might be a difference of opinion. But yeah, well, again, whatever happens, like we said with James Shea, what a servant to the club, what a man, someone's that sort of transformed the club on the pitch. We speak a lot about John Still and Nathan Jones and the owners and everything, but also having that kind of authoritative figure, that person that will make you laugh, that person will get spirits up after hardship. Yeah, I think that sometimes can go undervalued, and you know, you just have to listen to his interviews and even Rob's interviews when Pelly's in the background laughing away, and you just get insight into the kind of individual he is, and yeah, loved having Pelly as part of our club. If it's the end, then he goes with our best wishes. If it's not the end, then we get to see a bit more Pelly Ruddock. So we'll be the real winners. We'll go on to another, I guess, another player situation. Tom Lockyer. I guess you put that in the bracket of we still don't know what's going to happen with him. And of course, there's no pressure whatsoever on his situation. But that got to me yesterday. Him walking around with his missus and with his newborn. Because of course, you know, hearing the stories about what his missus went through on that day at Bournemouth, and you know, you can't even imagine the struggles within the family. But to see Lockyer again doing really well, seeing his kid doing really well, Lockyer, you know, gearing up the crowd with waving his baby's hand around. It was just a really nice moment, Jamie, and again a moment that tells you that life is much more bigger than football.
Yeah, it's one of those perspective moments, and when he was stood down by me, and I think it was Taylor, his girlfriend, was taking the photo of him and his little one. I turned to Dad and was just like, and that's why I think he'll retire, because as you say, it's just perspective. It's bad enough happening once at Wembley, and then thinking you're okay, and okay, it's happened again, and then you've got what at your time your 7-month pregnant girlfriend, and then I think obviously none of us know, right? But you'll hear from our dads and other mates who are fathers, and it just changes your life and changes your perspective. And yeah, I think if that was me, I'd be like, I've loved it, and I would love to come back, but it's not worth the risk. And he seems like he's now Sky Sports' new favourite pundit, so good luck to him. I think he suits that role down to the ground. He speaks very well. He knows his stuff, and I would love to be able to watch him on Sky in some capacity at some point, because I think he definitely deserves a future in football. I know as a club we'll look after him just like we looked after James Shea when he had that season-ending injury. I'm not saying we'll give him a new contract, but we'll certainly give him a nice farewell check, no doubt, and a thank you check, just to make sure that he and his family are all right. Because that's the sort of club we are. So yeah, it'd be sad to see him go. But yeah, again, like we said, for Shazy and Pelly and Will, for almost everyone that leaves the club this summer, thank you. You've captained our club in the Premier League, and you captained our club to the Premier League, even though you weren't on the pitch to witness it at the time. You were the captain in that Championship promotion side. So we will always remember Tom Lockyer.
Yeah, as we say, a massive personality as well. And that's why I think he comes across so well on Sky Sports, because he is funny. He is a different kind of pundit to what they have, and he's just a sort of total human, isn't he? Just every sort of emotion pours out, and yeah, he just sounds like a real good laugh and a real good man as well. Yesterday, probably sort of when you consider the situations of individuals, was the last we saw of certain players who we do not know at this stage. We'll start at the top with Ross Barkley, who's, they couldn't even give us a day without him being linked elsewhere. But when Fabrizio Romano reports something, you tend to listen, and it seems that Aston Villa, um, I don't know how advanced it would be, but Aston Villa are making progress. Whether it's a deal that suits everybody, we don't know at this stage. Manchester United still lurking. Ross Barkley, we spoke at volume during the season about the kind of player he is. For a lot of us younger fans, the best player that's ever put on a shirt, and I think that probably extends to a few people in the older generation that maybe consider him as one of the best players ever to put on the shirt. But what a season it has been, watching Ross Barkley, having him in our side, and just seeing him run midfields against world-class opponents. When we first signed him, it seemed quite bizarre, and I remember just looking at my phone for a good sort of 10 seconds thinking, how have we managed that? But even with how surprised I was about us signing him, he's gone on to exceed expectations sort of beyond belief. Finn, Ross Barkley, again, if he goes with our best wishes, but what a season we've had, enjoying him put on the Luton Town shirt.
I mean, yeah, you said it all there, really. Like, he's been the best player this season, outfield player this season, probably by some distance, considering how it started for him as well in that West Ham game, with people criticising him for not applauding the fans and things like that, and where it's gone from there, where after every single game comes over to the fans and speaks to some of the younger fans at the front. He gives his shirt out and he's giving his boots out, I'm sure, as well. So yeah, if he goes, you can only say thank you to everything he's done while he's been at the club. He's done as much as he possibly could to keep us in the Premier League. At times, he was one of very few senior players on that pitch as well. So yeah, you run out of words to describe how good he's been this season, and he's almost transformed as a player as well. He went from that free flowing attacking midfielder at Everton. Something that stands out in my mind is him going past a keeper when he was at Everton and celebrating before the goal's been scored. And now at Luton, he just looks like the most mature player on the pitch every single game, controlling games, making us tick at a lot of the stage. Against Man City, beating 3 players in one move and pinging a ball across the pitch, setting up that goal or creating the counter-attack against Liverpool when we got the result at home. So I don't know. For me, I think Aston Villa would be the better move than Manchester United. I think Man United are an absolute basket case of a club, and I don't think that will help his career at all. I think it would almost be a step backwards to where he was before he joined us, but you can see Aston Villa are going places, and I think he adds some real value to that midfield. Obviously, they've got a very good midfield as it is, but they'll be playing in the Champions League. They'll need squad depth, and who knows who'll be at that club and where he'll be as well. But Villa are looking the most likely. He's been at Villa before. Obviously, he was on loan there from Chelsea, and I think it started fairly well, and then he had a few injury problems. So maybe he thinks he's got unfinished business there. I don't know, but yeah, all I can say is he's been absolutely incredible this season.
What's your boy's favourite Ross Barkley moment? Because he's made a few so-called better midfield look a bit silly this season. So I'll be intrigued to see what your thoughts are on, for me, what his best moment, and that not saying best game or best, but just sort of best individual action or moment from this season.
I think for me, it's got to be that first game against Man City, where what was it, Rodri, Kovacic, and another
Yeah,
player, and he turned one and then turned again and took both out of the game, and against
yeah.
what probably the most expensive midfield in world football and the most lauded players you'll see in world football, and he made them look pretty pretty silly at the time, and I think that sums up how he's been all season for us, really.
Yeah, that's definitely up there. Again, against Arsenal, I remember him running Odegaard ragged a couple of times. For me, it's that what sticks out is that turn in the box where he took it down.
Sheffield
And
United.
was it again? Yeah, yeah,
Was it that little back heel through the legs? I can't remember who it was. Was it
yeah,
Jack Robinson at the back, maybe, where he just literally took it down, one touch, back heeled it through a defender's legs in the box at Sheffield United, and I saw that, and I've never seen a Luton player just have that confidence, but also borderline arrogance, but then just the ability to actually pull it off. Like, I've seen players sometimes attempt the incredible, but to just pull it off, lay it into the path of a Luton player, and I think it ended in a shot that was saved or something, but it was just phenomenal. So yeah, I'm pleased you said that one, Bill, because that was one that when I asked the question I had in my head was just world class talent, and it may not have worked out for him on the whole in his career. Okay, obviously he's played for England, he's done a lot more than most professional footballers will, but I think his ability was of someone that could have gone on and done a lot more. The reasons for that I don't know, but absolute world class ability.
an incredible, incredible talent that we are lucky as Luton fans that we've got to see him in town colours. And I don't like thinking like this, but then you start thinking if the injury situation hadn't sort of um, ascended like it did, then perhaps we wouldn't even be talking about Championship football next season. Um, Another player that well, I say will be going. He'll at least be going back to his parent club, whether we can sign him on a permanent deal or on loan again. It looks probably unlikely, but we'll probably have somewhat of a I guess somewhat faith that we can do it. Probably but yeah, that's Sambi Lokonga. What a player he's been alongside Ross Barkley. But again, probably a player that's too good for a relegation battling side. He was unplayable in certain games. Again, he makes football look so easy at times, and a real joy to watch. He's some of the comments he's made as well made can make us Luton fans dream that we can sign him permanently, but ultimately, I think that's not really going to come down to him. If there are, I guess, hefty offers coming in for from an Arsenal perspective. Finn, I'll come to you about Sambi Lokonga. How impressed have you been with him, and what do you expect from him? What do you expect of his situation come this summer?
I mean, what can you say about Samuel Lukonga that has not really been said? A player that wears his heart on his sleeve every game. He's had a couple of injury issues, but every time he's played, he's looked just a step above a lot of the other players on the pitch. Defensively, he's offered so much. The amount of times he's made covering runs and saved us when there's someone going one on one, and he just comes sliding in and picks the ball up and goes running off again with it. I don't know. It's just I think he cares. He's a player that looks like he cares every time he plays, and as a fan, that's probably the least you can ask for. I guess the most you can ask for a lot of people, but for a player being on loan, the amount of effort he's put in and the amount of heart he's put into his performances, I think, I think that's really what you notice. Then his goodbye message as well, or the message he said about Luton, how he's the best decision he's made in his career, how much he's loved being at the club. I think you very rarely see a player leave Luton on bad blood, but the comments Lakonga's made, I think, sum up how a lot of the players feel when they leave, especially loan players, but never know what to say And for him to be able to score as well against West Ham was obviously huge. So he could get that goal because he's tried on a few occasions. He's obviously been sat deeper in midfield, but obviously we never got to see what that midfield three could have looked like with Lokonga, Barkley, and Nakamba. Obviously because of injuries, but I think that would have been a pretty special midfield. But yeah, Lokonga's been absolutely brilliant all season, and I think he's probably another player that deserves a real opportunity in the Premier League. Obviously, he's been at Arsenal for a while. He was in and out of the team when he first joined, mainly because of injuries to other players, and then he went out on loan a couple. Obviously, he went out on loan a couple of times, but he's never really had that sustained spell. And I think when you see how well he can play, if you put him in a mid-table team, for example, he could be an absolutely brilliant player. But you see his connection with the team as well. And like on his Instagram post, you see some of the comments like Mads Anderson commenting, "My favourite player." So it shows how much everyone else feels about him.
Yeah, an incredible talent and an incredible guy as well. It's just a shame that we didn't get to see more of him in a Town shirt because of those injury issues. A couple more players. Kabore will obviously return back to Manchester City. A player that's I think improved as the season's got on. I think there's real potential with him, and he's somebody that I think we are a better side with him in the team come the end of the season. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with him. But also I'll combine a couple of situations here because Adebayo is a player that's already received a fair bit of interest. Likely will continue to receive a bit of interest. When you think about Adebayo's story coming from Walsall, pick for the future, but immediately thrusted into things, and a player that just generally made things happen from minute one in his career. He's been a fantastic servant to the club. And then Colton Morris, because I think there was a while back a link with West Ham. How credible that is. Don't shoot the messenger here, but a guy that you also expect to see Premier League interest given the performances on a consistent basis he's displayed, leadership qualities, all round physical profile. So just Kabore, Adebayo, Morris. If that was the last we've seen of them, Jamie, what would your message be?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's obviously shortest stint out of the three. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think over the course of the season, we were a better team with him in. He was probably the more all round wing back of our options there. I think for me, probably wing back is going to be the most interesting position this summer for us to see what we do, and also where Kabore ends up, because I doubt he's got a future at City because clearly they've got some good options there already, and then they've got that guy who's at Girona as well at the minute. So Kabore probably moves on in the summer, so it'd be interesting to see where he goes. Whether we get linked, who knows? But no, yeah, I mean, obviously didn't have as much of an impact from a fan perspective as Lokonga. Maybe somewhat harshly at times, but obviously he did make a few mistakes. But he was a young lad, first Premier League loan spell, so it was to be expected. But you can't fault work rate, as Finn said. That's the least that you want as fans, and he certainly wore his heart on his sleeve and made some cracking last ditch tackles. Almost Wan-Bissaka Spider-Man-esque at times when Wan-Bissaka was at Palace. So yeah, good lad, and wishing the best luck for the future. And then Eli and Colton, yeah, I mean, what can I really say? I think Elijah's probably the more sellable of the assets, if you call them that. I think given age and profile, I think he's definitely the one that I think will receive more attention and probably higher bids for. Someone that I would absolutely love to see us keep. I think if he does stay with us, he's in with the shout for a golden boot next season. Personally, I think I worked out based on like a minutes per goal ratio. He was scoring once every sort of game and a half in the Premier League based on minutes and goals he scored. And if someone's doing that for a relegation threatened side, then he's going to score 20 plus in the Championship next season if he sticks around. So really, really hope he stays to get him on what was the cheat from Walsall. I remember lying in bed on deadline day, and then it'll pop up saying that we've signed him from Walsall when Huddersfield were strongly linked. Been a big signing for us. A player that I think transitioned us from that mid-table bottom half Championship side into a real top half promotion chasing one. Can you see it too on my Mac? The little thumbs down that's come up. I think it's a new MacBook feature, so ignore that. And that would be my reaction if Eli leaves. So yeah, I think he's probably the one player out of everyone this season that I would, or this summer, that I would be most gutted to see leave. I think is Adebayo, just for what he means to the club and long servant. Obviously, Mengi would be a big loss, but I just think there's that emotional connection to Eli that there might not be there with Mengi yet, but given sort of time at club. And then for Morris, yeah, I think he deserves another shot at the Prem. I think he's obviously 11 goals for a relegation threatened side is no mean feat. But I just can't see us losing both. Right, it would be very, very brave from the board and Edwards to sign off the sale of both. Okay, you've got players like Joe Taylor in the background that can come in and I think will impact Championship really well, but to lose both your number nines and replace both with, I mean, who knows whether they're going to be on entities or players that have a track record, but even players that have a track record aren't necessarily going to impact. You look at Sheffield United signing Cameron Archer, you think, oh, he was awesome at Championship, he's going to definitely score a few at the Premier League at least, but didn't do an awful lot, right? So I think it's the hardest to get a centre forward signing right, unless you're signing like a Haaland ready-made centre forward. It's really hard to get a centre forward signing right. So to lose two number nines at our club that are proven goal scorers, proven mentalities, and just sort of team players and work with the system, to lose both, I'd be devastated. I think, and I think that would dampen my expectations for next season drastically. So yeah, one might leave, but I can't see both leaving.
Yeah, I think that's probably a quite a fair, justified kind of answer to all three. Finn, I'll come to you with this last player situation that we'll talk about, and that's Ted Mengi. He, like Barkley, has probably exceeded all expectations of him this season. I think we expected him probably to have some sort of impact. We probably didn't expect him to be our most important, influential centre back. And that's exactly what he's become this season. I think there's already been a little bit of interest in him given how consistent he was. We mentioned before as well, he came with the injury risk because his injury situation was quite poor. But then in an injury-stricken Luton town team, he's emerged as like the safest option, which is just mad. But 21 years old, he's probably locked into a decent contract. I can't imagine he's entering the last 12 months or anything like that. I think we're in a very good position. I've seen a lot of figures touted by other Luton fans or other fans of other clubs. I think we've got to be talking about 30 plus for Ted Mengi. I don't know if that's me being in dreamland, but I think surely, considering his age, considering he's of England's pedigree as well. He'll probably be on the radar of Gareth Southgate as well, being as influential as he has been. You look at Jared Branthwaite and the kind of plaudits he's gained this season. The dynamic of being a left footer, of course, has that kind of impact on a price tag, and obviously a bit more desired. But Ted Mengi, he's Premier League made. He's proven that he can do it. He's proven to be a really effective communicator, leader, everything. 30 million, am I being unrealistic?
I don't think so, no. I think if there's clubs sniffing around him, you've got to ask for money. You've got to ask for big money because, I mean, I wouldn't say he owes the club, but we took that risk on him. He'd played 26 senior games by the age of 21 when he signed for us. And we really, I mean, we made a risk by signing him for what I think is £1 million that's been mentioned. So for us, that's quite a lot of money. For other clubs, that's pocket change, but I think we took a risk, and the risk has absolutely paid off. I've seen very few young players develop as quickly and as assuredly as he has this season. Some of his individual performances when we were down to the bare bones at the back, Everton away in the FA Cup is one example. That game, I remember how just he was absolutely brilliant, and it's not the only one. So he's come into a team that had serious injury issues. As a player that's had injury problems for a long time, you saw he said a few weeks ago that he's been playing through an injury for most of the season, but he was determined to carry on playing, and I think that speaks volumes of him as a player and as a person as well. And we've said it about a lot of players, but when you've got that heart, I think it means so much more to the fans. And I mean, I'd love to see him at Luton next season. I think he could be incredible in the Championship, and he can really just anchor that defence. And I think, yeah, if he does get a move to another Premier League club, I see no reason why he wouldn't get an England call up. I can't see Southgate obviously calling him up while he's in the Championship, but I mean, stranger things have happened. But no, I think we've got to do everything we can to keep hold of him, and we are in a very strong position. We didn't spend big money in the summer, so we've got money in the bank, so we don't need to be selling players. So why would we go selling players that have only been with the club for the one season? So no, I would love him to stay, and I think he very well could stay. And if he doesn't, we've got to be demanding 30 million.
I think just to add as well to the financial side of things, there's an amount you think a player's worth and an amount that you have a right to ask for. And if Everton have the right, I think they do have the right to ask for upwards of 80 million for Branthwaite. We have the right to, day one, opening bids 40 million plus, please. Like, no less. Okay, is he worth 40 million? No. Is Branthwaite worth 80? No. But if Brighton can get 50 million for Marc Cucurella from Chelsea, then we have every right to have starting bids of 40 for Mengi. As you say, he's 21, English under 21 caps, former Manchester United academy captain, basically like 30 plus games for Luton Town, albeit relegated, but had to defend his arse off all season. It's shown that he can defend and be really brave and go man to man against the best in this league. Okay, sometimes it doesn't work off, but he's still 21. For me, from that, for now, open the bids 40 million plus. Do not even bother dialing my phone number, Gary Sweet, is what you should be saying, if you're not going to start with a 40 plus. Clearly, as the summer develops, if Mengi starts to get a bit arsey because he has an opportunity at someone like a Crystal Palace to replace Mark Gay, for example, then so be it. You might drop it and go to 25, 30, but do not let clubs pull our pants down day one and say, yeah, sure, have him, 25 million, yeah, go for it, because that's what you think he's worth. No, like, from now, 40 million plus, and that's, people might think that I'm in dreamland thinking we're going to get £40 million for a Luton Town player, but we have every right to ask for that. We're in a good position contract wise, we're in a strong position, we're in a strong place financially, we're a club that's on the up. Rob Edwards will be in his ear saying, Tedden, one more year, mate. One more year. If we don't go up next year, by all means, you can go for 20 million. But for now, 40 million.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. And imagine Tedden Mengi in his current form playing Championship football. The prospect is frightening. That is it for today. A big thank you to the two of you for joining. As we mentioned at the start, we'll have a couple more at least podcasts before we call it an end to our season. We'll do some sort of awards, and we'll also do a couple more reviewing the season on the whole. As I say, this is the end of me hosting as well, sort of these last few episodes. So keep your eyes peeled to socials for any changes. I can assure you Jamie has some very, very exciting plans, so make sure to keep an eye on all of that. Until our next episode, it's goodbye from us.